Hi, everyone. I'm just letting folks trickle in. You should have access to your camera and your microphone.
Hello.
Hi, good. I want to say good morning. That's the country girl in me, but good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We'll give people a couple minutes to kind of tinker and make their way in. Just so that you all know, this is going to be a recorded video. So if you're uncomfortable with that, just feel free to stay off the video. And some folks have had complications with accessing the chat feature. So if
Mm.
you are someone who has limited access, you can always just email me if you have any questions or anything, and I'll put that information into the chat. So you should be able to view it. But we have had some folks have some issues as far as that. Katie, are you comfortable with us maybe doing a round of introductions right quick?
I would love that. Sounds great.
Okay, well, kick it off. I'm Dejan. I am with the Mountain Association. I created this series to help bridge the gap between our consultants and our clients and to help just add resources to the region that are free and accessible. All of our videos will live on our Mountain Association YouTube, and then we also have a digital platform called Initiate where those materials will also be uploaded. So it's been really great just meeting folks and providing a space for our consultants to give out their great knowledge. I work in the business support services area, so we have loans, so we have lending, business support, energy, who can do energy audits to your commercial property and see if there's any upgrades. They can also view your bills and see if there's any areas for efficiencies there. And then we have a strategic initiatives team that works with communities such as like the Hazard Downtown Revitalization model that they have. So, yeah, that's a little bit about Mountain Association, and I'll pass it over to Katie, and we'll just go around real quick for those who are comfortable to do an introduction. And if you don't want to talk, you can always just put a quick intro into the chat.
Oh, thanks, Dejan. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm a business coach with the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. But before that, I founded and owned Native Bagel Company in Nightjar, which is a restaurant in Berea. That's two concepts under one roof. My husband is running the show there now, and he and I both kind of started that business because we are romantics about the power of mom and pop businesses to bring vibrancy to our community. And so we started that with a $3,000 loan from my dad. And although our first commercial loan was with Mountain Association, started with a little baby bagel cart selling at the farmers market and have grown and scaled since then. Having to learn on the fly and have a growth curve in that way was really helpful, but also part of my goal now in this job is to shorten people's learning curve and help them not have to make some of the same mistakes I did. So it's a real privilege to be doing this work.
I said, let me unmute. If you want, if anyone feels so led, they can pop popcorn. Feel free to jump in.
Well, I don't mind to. My name is Ella Smith Justice. I live in Pikeville. I work at the University of Pikeville.
Mm.
And I'm here today because I recently just started an LLC and am very excited about it. It's called Kaleidoscope Books
Mm.
and had a really difficult time not being able to find a storefront. And so we are going to go in the spirit of our ancestors who, librarians who rode on horseback and took books all over. We're going to have a bookmobile and go
Mm.
to festivals and places like that
Cool.
and have a traveling bookstore. So
Mm.
we're really excited about that. Hoping to start that next month,
Wow.
like actually get it launched and start going to places. So
Wow.
yeah, it's called Kaleidoscope Books.
That's great. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? No pressure.
Sure. Hi, Dejan. Hi, Katie.
Hey.
Hi, Ella. Everybody else. My name is Jaleesa Wells. I live in Berea and I have a business called Bossy Rainbow. And it's shifted over the years from jewelry to textiles. And so now I make art quilts and I'm moving towards products and thinking about how to develop products from my business. I frequent Native Bagel and Nightjar a lot. Actually, Thursday is like our day that we usually go get food there. So I love that place. Um, and the kaleidoscope idea sounds fantastic. I love a mobile book idea. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I was working with Valerie Henderson
Ah,
for a little
yeah,
bit, and then she retired on me, and I'm kind of in transition anyway. And now I'm coming back to making sure my business is established properly in Kentucky.
awesome.
I'm Samantha Dodson. I think I've always had this dream of having like a small business of my own, but I keep coming back to just opening my own event planning something. And so I'm still kind of playing around with it, and figuring out what I want to do. But yeah, I think that's kind of the direction I'm going in right now.
Looks like we have a couple in the chat. So let me open that up. Hi, Kathleen. She says that she's been on a skill building journey the last few years, working towards a career change and finally needing to educate herself about being an entrepreneur and business owner. Thank you for being here with us. I was gonna say, is that everyone? Hold on. Go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, I'm Stacy Jordan, and I am opening a nonprofit thrift store in Richmond. So it's called Made New Mercantile. The desire is that we will take our profits and we'll put them back into the community to other nonprofits. So we're hoping to open sometime, maybe in the next, we're hoping by mid-June. We've got a couple
Oh,
things we
wow.
have to. Yeah, so I'm actually sitting in in the library right now. So super excited, but I'm anxious to hear what you all have to say today to just make things a little smoother.
Great. And then I think we just admitted someone. I'm so sorry if you all are seeing yourselves on this screen. Are you all seeing yourselves or you just see the PowerPoint?
I can see people, but I'm
Okay.
so new to Teams, Dejan. I might be the weakest link here.
Yeah, I'm trying to just do it like this. So hopefully this will work.
I
Thank
think
you.
people will
So,
be able to control whatever they see from their own view.
Okay. Teams is very particular, and sometimes I'm able just to turn on a PowerPoint pretty much in Teams. I don't know how else to say it. But I don't know, unfortunately, how to make the PowerPoint show up in a way that I can do that. So, but okay, so as long as I can,
It was
present
it
in
was
Teams.
it was viewable a moment ago, but now it's not.
Okay. I think it's gonna let me present it in here. Present. Yay.
great. Thank you.
Perfect. So, like I said, if you guys feel free to interact, and Katie, if you feel fine with that, if people have questions, would you rather them put them in the chat or raise their hand or
I
just
think just
unmute?
popping in is great, or if you feel more comfortable in the chat, whatever feels better for folks. But I'm super flexible and chatty, so whatever you all prefer.
Well, great. Well, like I said, this is Learning with an Expert. And so our expert today is Katie Startzman. And before you've heard the impact that she's had on the Berea community, I'm a Berea graduate. So I feel like I'm a Berea community girl, and now I am. So I'll just give you the floor and you can lead us
Great.
through the basics of business.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. It's a privilege to be here, you all, and it feels very full circle. I sat in the old Berea City Hall, and an SBDC business coach is who helped me set up the LLC for my bagel business at the time. And so it feels pretty neat that now I'm helping people do that same thing. So, and I think I can control these slides now, Dejan. So thank you for doing that. And I'm just happy to click through as I'm talking. So the Kentucky SBDC is an organization that is funded through the U.S. Small Business Administration and the University of Kentucky, and also local partners. So what that means for clients or for people who are aspiring or practicing entrepreneurs is that the services that I provide through my coaching work is no cost. And so it feels like a real gift to be able to dive in with people and help them in the real vulnerable and impactful times of their businesses. And they don't have to worry about how to pay this person that's helping. And the main piece of what I'm doing is providing high quality, confidential business coaching that is aimed at the startup phase. So a lot of what I do is help people write business plans, apply for loans. If you don't need a commercial loan, that's great. If you're going to bootstrap it, we still want to figure out how can we get the most impact for the money that you have or the resources that you have to invest. And then there's also a lot of training that the SBDC does. There are weekly webinars that the Louisville Center does that are really high quality about different topics. There are also some occasional, or they happen once or twice a month. There's a series of 3 live webinars called Start Smart, Plan Smart, and Fund Smart. And if you're really in the early days of starting a business and you just want to understand some of the fundamentals, I highly recommend those. The presenter is JC Phelps, who is he actually just received his doctorate. He's a professor at Lindsey Wilson in entrepreneurship, but it works with the Kentucky SBDC, and he's a great person to learn from. And so he leads those sessions. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of plug into this SBDC ecosystem, but I am a business coach. I'm one of 20 plus other coaches all over the state, and happy to work with any of you all. Although also, if for your mobile bookmobile project, if you go online and log in KentuckySBDC.com, it will match you with somebody kind of geographically closer to you. But also if you're like, hey, she knows her stuff, I want to work with, all of the coaches know their stuff too. But if you want to work together, shoot me an email. I'm happy to, we can kind of set that up manually.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So I've been doing this work for about 18 months. And like I said, that's my main piece of my job. And then the other big piece of my job is helping people get set up legally. I think, there's this kind of fear of not wanting to get in trouble, needing to jump through hoops, not knowing what hoops you need to jump through. And so that's what this presentation is really about today. And I want to just kind of go over the different levels of things you need to be thinking of when you're setting up a business. And also with the kind of letting you all know that if and when you are ready to make these steps, there's a business coach at the Kentucky SBDC who can help you do this at no cost. And, navigating the Kentucky Secretary of State's website can be challenging. And, it's one of those things that I do it twice a week. So it's easy for me to help. It's a low lift. Okay, so let's see. So the first thing you need to think about when you're deciding, first of all, I should say, does anybody have any questions, or does that sound like a good kind of framework for what we're going to talk about today? Okay, thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, great. So first thing to think about is your initial, thank you, thumbs up, your initial business structure. And I should also say that none of this is set in stone. This is just for when you're setting up your business. We need to decide a legal entity for your business. And first, that starts out with a limited liability company or doing business as. So we're going to briefly touch on those. An LLC is a separate legal entity from you, from you and your house and your vehicle. It's a separate thing, and it protects your personal assets from business debts. There was a lady that slipped and fell in my restaurant in early days. She said we were being negligent. If we had been found negligent and we were not an LLC, that is the time when somebody could have gotten my house, basically, or if I had been found negligent. Whereas if with an LLC, even if I had been found negligent, my personal assets would have been protected. And so that's what people think about a lot when they think about an LLC. That's why it's called limited liability. You set that up through the Secretary of State. It costs $40. and you have to pay the state of Kentucky each year for the privilege of having an LLC. So every year when you do your taxes, your accountant or you will pay an additional $175 for having that. And then every year in June, by June, you have to let the state of Kentucky know, hey, I'm still in business, and file an annual report. That's $15. The taxes pass through to your members. So if you're a single member LLC, it'll just pass through your personal taxes. It's different from like a corporation, which is kind of above my pay grade. So we're not worrying about those today. We're just talking about LLC and DBA. DBA stands for doing business as. It is not a separate legal entity. It is a trade name. So my twin sister, who was a working artist for 10 years, she did not need an LLC. There were very few reasons for people to sue her. She was selling artwork, but she was doing her business under the name Meadow House Studio. So that was set up as a DBA. To do that, it's a little bit confusing. In Kentucky, the state works with the county clerks. So you go to the county clerk's office, even though it's a state level filing. It's something, unfortunately, that you cannot do online. And it's required anytime you're going to be doing business under anything other than your legal name. If I wanted to have Katie's Cleaning Services, I would need to file a DBA. For example, with my business, Nightjar and Native Bagel Company, my LLC is Native Bagel Company, but I'm doing business as Nightjar as well. So I filed a DBA when we set up Nightjar. So that's what this is talking about, this bottom point here. It's often paired with an LLC. So you might see, okay, thank you, Dejan. So let's see, so let's practice this. So is this slide not changed for you guys? Do you see a
We're
new slide?
on choosing your business.
Okay, so has it changed now to which one do you need?
But I changed it.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry. I was just changing it for myself, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay, we were
that's
getting
why I
ready to change
realized.
anyway. So
Yeah, that's why I wanted to
okay,
let you
so
know.
here's one framework to think about. And some of these are true. We definitely want a separate bank account for your business activities. And you do need to register with the Secretary of State through the DBA and the LLC. But then also, if you have a low risk business and you don't feel the need for an LLC, you could start out as a DBA. That's going to save you $40 to start. It's going to save you $175 a year, and it's going to save you an additional $15 when you have to file your annual report. To file a DBA, it costs $50, but it's just a one-time thing. Does anybody have any questions about LLC and DBA? If not, we're ready to move to the next slide. Dejan, thank you. Yes, Kathleen.
I wonder what the tax implications are of filing a DBA without an LLC. You would just file all of your expenses on a schedule. I can't remember if it's schedule
C. Correct, exactly. So as far as the accountant or your taxes are concerned, that's a great question. Both of these, if you are a sole proprietor, now if you are a business partnership, it gets more complex. But both of these, if you're a sole proprietor, you could be a sole proprietor DBA business or a sole proprietor LLC business. It all flows through your personal taxes with a Schedule C. Yes.
Okay, they both do. So you would report your expenses and earnings the same way.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We're ready for the next slide, Dejan. Thank you.
Okay, we're on tax obligations.
Oh, funny. That's funny. It has it. Okay, here we go. So good segue, Kathleen. You must have known that we were thinking about that. So the whole point, basically, or this is obvious maybe to you all, but it wasn't to me at first. Like, basically, these different entities, the federal, state, and local level, they all have some version of letting them know you're in business. And the reason that we're letting them know that we're in business is because they want to collect taxes. They all want a piece, right? So there's different ways to do that at each level. So that's what we're going to talk about now. The federal level is getting an EIN. Going to irs.gov, signing up for an EIN is free. although you also do want to do that, it's better to do that after you've gotten your state stuff set up, because we'll want to use the same LLC and that information. And the EIN is what you could consider the Social Security number for your business. It's not required it's required when you have employees. But for example, if you are a sole proprietor artist, hang on, I'm so sorry. I have a little dog who's misbehaving. If you are a sole proprietor and you want to use your Social Security number as your business's identification as well, for example, for your federal taxes, you can do that. But most banks really prefer for you to have an EIN when you're setting up a business bank account, and it's free. And so I advise my clients to get one. If you have questions, it is worth it to have a conversation with a tax accountant. Then the Kentucky state, this is a little bit confusing the way I phrase this here, because there's two different things that you're paying to the state of Kentucky. Setting up with the Secretary of State, either as a DBA or an LLC, that basically has you covered as far as your state income taxes. And so when you file your annual federal taxes, your Schedule C information, that'll flow through at the federal level, it'll flow through at the state level. So that's fine. You don't need to do anything else there. But if you have the kind of business where you have to collect and pay sales tax on goods and services, you also are going to want to set up an account with the Kentucky Department of Revenue. This is also something I help people with. This one is not that hard. It just asks you a whole lot of questions, and but it's really important for this one, because the Department of Revenue, out of all of these entities, they, in my mind, are the ones who are the most kind of uptight about you reporting to them all the time. So because they require quarterly or even monthly, based on your sales volume, reports and payment. Even if you have had $0 of sales, you still need to report to them. And so that getting that set up closer to the time of when you're in business, or setting your effective operating date, like sometimes when I would have new business ideas, I'd be like, I need to get all this stuff set up. I want to be legal. I want to do it right. And this was before I was a business coach, and I had just enough knowledge to be dangerous, basically. And I set up a Kentucky Department of Revenue account for a business that I never actually did. Then I was getting grumpy letters from the Department of Revenue saying, hey girl, why haven't you filed these reports? But it's because they thought I was operating. I never was operating. So for this one, we want to set it up kind of closer to the time when you're opening and you feel good about being able to file these reports. It's really nice now that the whole platform shifted about a year ago. And now it sends you an email every quarter or every month saying, hey, it's time to file this. Yes, Kathleen.
Okay, I guess I'm always going to be the one with a million questions.
No, I love it. It's great.
I've been told they can be helpful to other people as well. So, especially initially in this process of me building my business, I'm going to be focusing on being an independent contractor. I may have so I would be contracted by someone else who has a business, and then they would pay me directly, like a flat rate. There will be like some occasions where I'm working one-on-one with people where I'll be paid directly, but for the most part, I'll be an independent contractor. Yeah, so far on what you've said, I might not dive into this whole process that would compel me to do extra work and pay extra fees.
Are you talking about the Kentucky Department of Revenue or any of it?
I mean, maybe doing business as I think I kind of think through what you just said, but it sounds having an EIN, and well, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess I would need to have a business checking account, so maybe I can't avoid.
Sometimes if it's a business to business thing, sometimes they're more comfortable paying another business than an individual. So, sorry, Dejan, are you getting ready to weigh in on that too? You might know more about that because of the consultants you all work with.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say something kind of related to what she's asking, but you
Okay.
can go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah. So I think that it's a matter of the comfort level of your vendors. And I will say it's really nice, even though there is an expense to this, it's really great to get it set up just perfectly from jump, because then you don't have to worry about it. We should set up your business for how you want it to be operating, like in a year or 6 months or something. Like think down the road that far, and like if you think you will be wanting these things, I think it would be worth it. I mean, I totally understand juggling the cost benefit ratio,
Yeah.
um, but
I'm
yeah,
mostly
it's
I'm thinking about two things. I
yes,
want to be able to track all my expenses because for years I've been spending money on the preparation and
sure,
not really reporting on it on my.
sure.
But also you did make some you did allude to not setting yourself up prematurely, but maybe that was just because you didn't end up doing that.
Yes, yes, and I'm not trying to confuse matters. The main area where I was talking about not setting up prematurely was the Kentucky Department of Revenue. They are the ones who expect monthly or quarterly reports about your sales volume. And that's only if you are doing the kind of work or selling products that require you to charge sales tax. Not all goods and services are taxable.
So if I'm an independent contractor, that's irrelevant. So I wouldn't need to do that until I start getting paid directly.
Yeah, if you're doing business to business, but I mean, that's funny. I didn't say this when I first started, but I always jokingly tell people that it's like above my pay grade, or like the state of Kentucky does not want, or the SBDC does not want me giving advice that you get from an attorney or an accountant. So I feel like we're kind of right up against that line where you
I
could
understand.
probably, yeah, you could get, I definitely want you to, um, not have more like infrastructure than you need. I understand what you're saying, but also if you want to claim those expenses, we need you to have a business. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
might have an owner investment of the money that you spent doing the training or something. An accountant would be the thing that I jokingly say or truly say about the accountants is like I want our government to be well funded as much as the next person, but their whole job is to help us keep as much of our money as possible, right? And so having a few conversations with them early in when you're structuring your business can really help you make wise decisions about keep the most bang for our buck because we're working hard for our money. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
it
Um,
part of your services. Do you have like a list of recommended accountants for small business owners starting out?
Yeah, so I'm not allowed to specifically refer to a couple, single accountant, but I do have a list, and I bet Dejan and the business support crew also probably has a vetted of service providers. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm happy to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mountain
Thank you.
Association could definitely support in that. And I'll also put the inquiry link for business support services in the chat for those who may want to seek out services as well.
It's funny to be doing this work with you, Dejan. Like I so frequently refer to, my first loan was with Mountain Association. It was a $4,500 loan, I think, or 5,500. And also, Mountain Association at that time paid someone to set up my QuickBooks for me. And we hadn't made a sale yet. We hadn't done, but then when we started operating, it was so kind of intense that and I had no financial literacy, that would have been a huge hurdle for me to get started in my business. And so I just have so much gratitude for the Mountain Association. Like it just feels so fun to be doing this work with this conversation with you all now. So anyway, um, okay, so we've got the federal level, we've got the state level, and then we need to go down to the local level. There's two things to think about at the local level, and it's different in all different communities. Many Kentucky cities and counties charge an occupational license fee. This is basically on people's paychecks. This is why the mayor in the city of Berea is trying to bring factories to Berea, because it's jobs and occupational license fees are what make up, I think, maybe 80% of the city of Berea's budget. So the city of Berea has an $18 million budget annually. We need that money to run the city. And the way that money in Kentucky comes from is typically occupational license fees. For cities, counties, property taxes, they get a lot more in property taxes. So you're paying that as an employer. My employees at the restaurant, I have an occupational license fee on their checks. That's just one other line, just like FICA and everything else. Then also in Berea and many local communities, you have to pay a net profit tax. So that is a part of my annual tax package. When I go to the accountant, they do my federal taxes, they do my state taxes, and then they do my local taxes. And so I have to pay the state of Kentucky 2%, not state of Kentucky, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I have to pay the city of Berea 2% of my net profit. So all of these things contribute to why the feds want to know what we're doing, the state wants to know what we're doing, and the city of Berea wants to know what we're doing. And that, or the county that you're in. Counties and cities cannot double dip. It's based on where your business is located or where you're doing business, which that can get into the weeds. I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but like if I were a caterer and I were doing 50% of my business in Fayette County, I would also need to have a Fayette County business license. And another thing that can trigger, it might be the next slide, Dejan. I can't remember if I included a slide about this or not, that getting your local business license may also trigger, yeah, great. That was so smart of me to include that. Your zoning and permitting and licensing. So the cities and counties have different types of zoning. Some places you can do whatever you want. You could have a super fancy house, you could build a KFC next to it, you could build a storage unit on the other side of it. Some places do, and that's good or bad depending on who the what your views are on property and development, that kind of thing. Some communities you cannot do that, and then also, so we want to check that. I really advise folks before you sign a lease anywhere, we want to determine what the zoning is for the building. Is there code requirements for this building? Some of these things are mandated at the state level. There's a state plumbing code, there's a state fire code, and then local entities help enforce that. Some of them are determined at the local level. In the city of Berea, we have a signage requirement. You can only have signs of a certain size relative to your building, that kind of thing. So that's a good thing to talk to them about. And it's really nice to do those kinds of things earlier in the process, even before you find a storefront that you're in love with on Main Street. It's good to go find the people in your community who are doing the planning and zoning things so you can find out, hey, I'm wanting to have a bookstore. What are the things I should be thinking about? What's a deal breaker? Those kinds of things. And then also licensing is something to think about. In my line of work, food, right? That's a huge ball of wax with the health department. And so we want to make sure that if you are in a regulated industry, food isn't the only one. Childcare is incredible. I've just been working with some childcare clients. Wow, they jump through a lot of hoops to make sure these kids are safe. And so that's another thing to be thinking of. Really, this licensing and permits I should have had this maybe even on the first slide, because some of these things take a while to be working through the system. And so it's a good thing to start investigating, what will my business model require me to do, as far as if I'm trying to start a dialysis center, I need to get that ball rolling before I get my LLC, that kind of thing. Thank you. Dejan, we're ready for the next slide.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course.
So I did have a question about, and it's something that you said earlier that kind of triggered it, and it's something I've been wondering anyway.
Yes.
But so thinking about my business, the way that I'm going to begin it, where I might be traveling from spot to spot to spot. The business's address right now is my home address because we don't have a storefront, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to go, so let's say I come to Berea for an event.
Sure.
What does that look like as far as permits and things like that go?
That's a great question. So it's that makes me think of my twin sister, who's a working artist, and she's not anymore, but she was for 10 years. And I remember her telling me that at the July fair, to be somebody traveling from out of town to the July craft fair in Berea, you had to get a Berea business license for that event and be reporting on your sales for that weekend. Or I know, like, I was really interested in having a food truck. If I was going to go to Fayette County and have my food truck up there, I would need to be recording those sales differently. This would also be a great time to have a conversation with an accountant, because I don't think there's officially a threshold where it's like, oh, if you're only doing 5 events a year, but they might be able to tell you about, there's a certain dollar amount you might want to think about. I think officially there is no certain dollar amount. I think like you should be doing each one in these different precincts or vicinities. Precincts is not the right word. It's not an election, but these different places. Um, but sometimes it might be like, okay, I'm doing 50%. I'm doing a chunk of my business here. I'm going to really want to get my Perry County business license or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that might be the last slide, Dejan. Or did you already go to the last slide? Oh, here we go.
We're on workers' comp.
Great. Sorry. For some reason, I'm having to switch it manually on my sides. I don't know why. Okay. So another thing to think about, and I know that those of you who are just getting started, you're not thinking about employees yet. But your business is going to grow. And I want you to be thinking about this now, so that if and when you are ready to hire employees, you've got all your ducks in a row. And that's one of the benefits of getting all these legal things out of the way now from the start, is that you can focus on growing your business and providing excellent services or providing excellent products, and not having this feeling in the back of your head at 4:30 in the morning, like, oh shoot, I haven't gotten that set up. I don't know if that's just how I operate, but it's nice to have that all taken care of. So workers' comp and unemployment are the things you need to be thinking about when you have employees. And both of them are designed to protect employees, right? And if they get hurt on the job, or if the business is unable to hire them, keep them hired, or if the business closes. And workers' comp is something that covers medical expenses and lost wages for if people get hurt on the job. And there are a few different things to know or think about, basically. One of them is that when you are a new business, you are a high risk business for insurance to cover, because there's no frame of reference. And so, almost universally, when you're first getting started, there is I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sorry, I might look it up during question and answer, but it's the state of Kentucky basically runs a workers' comp insurance for baby new businesses, because private insurance companies won't touch us with a 10-foot pole when we're brand new. And it's a little bit higher rates, but it's kind of like the only place you can get workers' comp when you're first getting started. And typically you do that for a year, and then you're able to get workers' comp through a private insurer. Insurance is really tricky in general these days. I think the insurance space for commercial, for businesses, both, like, you're going to want to think about, this isn't what the topic of this session is about, but you're going to want liability insurance for your business, and you might want other types of insurance for your business. And one thing I will say that, Stacy, I don't know the answer to that. My guess is no, but I don't know. One thing the insurance agents like, you probably already know this from being adults who have personal insurance, bundling the insurance that you have removes risk for the insurer company. And so if you start out with a company and you have liability with them, you could even say, hey, I know you're not going to cover me for workers' comp, but I'm going to be coming to you in a year for a workers' comp policy. Or so just starting that conversation is a good thing to do. And okay, also importantly to know, it does not cover the owners. So if you have concerns, or there are things that if you are in a high risk business, you want to cover yourself as the owner in a different way. But a workers' comp policies typically do not cover the owners. The other thing that we have to do is pay unemployment insurance. And this is something that we as the owners pay to provide this service to our employees if we close. And, I'll just say COVID was a huge example of why I was so pleased that we had been paying into it for so long, because it really benefited my employees when we closed. And my business closed for 3 months, and that's a pool that all employers pay into, that is then benefits the employees if they get laid off or if your business closes. The rate is based on your history over time. So if you are a seasonal business that lays people off every January and February, you could and should frankly have a higher rate than a stable business that's employing people year round. So the state kind of charges more for that, based on your usage. Any other questions about this? I will say that there are other tax and compliance things related to having employees, but that modern payroll providers, online payroll providers, like Gusto or other tools, I don't know why that's the only one I can think of right now. I mean, ADP has an online platform. I use Toast. I'm a restaurant, so I use Toast for my point of sale, but I use them for payroll. They are such powerful tools, and it's not necessary for you to work with a local accountant to do your payroll unless you prefer to do that. But I will say many local accountants don't enjoy doing it, or frankly, I don't think they make money doing payroll. And so, for example, my local accountant pushed me to ADP because they were like, we're not doing this anymore. It's not worth it to us. And one of the nice things about these technology tools is that they're very user friendly, helping you onboard employees, helping you get set up, making sure you're paying the taxes you need to pay. And it's just like this other stuff, like getting it set up correctly from the start. It can just have it be going in the background, and that messing up people's paychecks is the most important thing that I did not want to do as an employer. There's such a level of trust there. And so I have done lots of flaky things with my business, but my staff have always gotten paid. And I've never messed around with, businesses can, if they're not paying their payroll taxes in a punctual way, that's one of the fastest ways for a business to go out of business, is to not be current with your sales tax and your payroll tax. So having those things set up correctly from jump is really important. Anyway, I think that's all of my spiel. And I hope this isn't overwhelming. Like I really just trying to share that we just want to be thinking about what are the different levels of government. We've got the federal government, the state government, local governments, and then regulatory agencies. We just need to make sure all of these organizations or branches of government know that our business exists. Then we want to be thinking from our end, how can we be protecting ourselves? How can we be set up so smart so that you're able to keep as much money as possible? And then how can we be a good boss in the community? So yeah. Great. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, or for the session next week, if there's anything particular, if people are going to be joining as well, like if you have some homework for me or some things you want me to dig into, I'm happy to do some research, but I'll stop talking. Great. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
And again, oh, sorry, Dejan.
Oh, no, go ahead, Katie.
I'm not trying to sound over eager. I just know how much it can feel daunting to start this. And so if and when y'all are ready to start your business, we can knock out all these filings in an hour together over Zoom or in my office. And then you'll be on your way. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciated the information. Even, I feel like as a kid, whenever I was like 18, and you're like, I'm going to start a business, and you just know of an LLC,
Right.
but you don't know of all the other, licenses and other restrictions that are out there. So
Right.
I really appreciate you sharing that knowledge with us. Hold on one
Yeah, my
second.
pleasure. Yeah. I'm so glad to join this. It's an honor.
One resource I wanted to share with folks is that we have a platform called Initiate. And with this digital platform, we're able to provide resources that's very similar to what Katie just went over. And so if this has you thinking and you want to further go down a little bit deeper, you can have access to this. And so Initiate's really cool where it has credit stuff. These are little templates you can download, little things you can read, and there's also, of course, like this, a little video you can watch. So if you're interested in, utilizing this resource, there's a ton of other kind of modules Mountain Association has added as well as that come in within this platform. Just please put your email in the chat and I can go ahead and send an invitation to that to you. And then of course, I just wanted to wrap up by saying that going back into supporting what the SBDC does, Mountain Association's business support team really supports the work of the SBDC. Once that entrepreneur has their business plan and has their feet under them, that's a really good place to be in contact with Mountain Association. And we have, like I said, in the chat, we have digital resources, workshops, as well as business coaches and other consultants that can help fill in that gap. And I have put in the link to, if you're interested in an inquiry, and if there's any place for comments, just say that you were exposed to this from learning with an expert. The drop in with Katie is going to be next Thursday at the same time at 1. Whenever the recording is finished, I will then go ahead and send it out to everybody. I'm hoping that the teams will do that. And if the teams doesn't do that, then I will send it to you as well with a survey to just record your experience and then that some of those other resources in there. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I think that's all we have for you. If there's any other questions, just let me know, though. Thanks, you all.
Thank
Yeah,
you
I feel so
much.
lucky. I feel like such a cheerleader for Mountain Association, Deja. We have such a rich ecosystem for small businesses in Kentucky, and feels great that we can all kind of do our part to help help you all who have these great ideas and want to bring them to life. So it's really neat.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Take care.